What if I told you that one of the most powerful symbols of love in human history was invented by a cartel in a boardroom during the Great Depression because they needed to move product? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just the diamond industry. Here's the thing about diamonds that nobody tells you when you're staring at a ring in a jewelry store trying to figure out if 2 months' salary is really the right number. And we'll get to where that number came from because it's almost too perfect. Diamonds are not rare. They're not precious. They're carbon, compressed carbon that the Earth makes in enormous quantities. 150 million carats get mined every year. If you put a typical jewelry diamond to industrial use, it would fetch between $2 and $30. On eBay right now, you can find diamonds under 20 bucks. The price you're paying, that's not the market, that's a story someone told you. And the story has a very specific author. His name was Cecil Rhodes, and he was an Oxford dropout who showed up in South Africa in 1870 with nothing, started renting water pumps to diamond miners, and then used those profits to buy up the claims of miners who went broke. Smart guy, ruthless guy, backed eventually by the Rothschild banking empire. And in 1888, he merged with his biggest competitor, a man named Barney Barnato, who he basically outmaneuvered in a bidding war, and formed De Beers Consolidated Mines. By the time Rhodes died in 1902, De Beers controlled 90% of the world's rough diamond production. 90% of an entire global commodity. Let that sink in. But here's what's really clever about what Rhodes built. It wasn't just the mines, it was the system. De Beers created something called the Central Selling Organization, and it was essentially the only game in town. If you mined diamonds, you sold through De Beers. If you tried to go around them, they'd flood the market with diamonds identical to yours and crater your prices. Until you came crawling back, they did exactly that to Zaire in 1981. Dropped their prices 40% in a matter of months, just to send a message. And if you were a buyer, you got invited to what they called sites. These periodic sales where De Beers would hand you a box of diamonds, tell you the price, and you could either take it or leave it. If you left it, you might not get invited back. Ever. That was the whole system, total control, top to bottom. Now, controlling supply is one thing, but here's where the story gets genuinely extraordinary. Because by the 1930s, De Beers had a problem. The Depression had killed demand. The mines were closing, and they were sitting on a stockpile of a product that, if people ever figured out how abundant it actually was, would be worth almost nothing. So they did something audacious. They hired an advertising agency, not to sell diamonds, to sell the idea of diamonds. In 1938, Harry Oppenheimer, the son of the man who'd consolidated the De Beers monopoly, hired a New York agency called N.W. Ayer and Son. And he didn't ask them to run ads. He asked them to change what diamonds meant to people. The brief was essentially make diamonds emotionally necessary. And they delivered. They planted stories in newspapers about famous people giving diamond rings. They sent lecturers, actual human beings, into American high schools to talk to teenage girls about diamond engagement rings. They got Hollywood stars to wear diamonds on screen. They built from scratch an entire cultural architecture around a single idea, that a diamond ring was how you proved your love was real. And then in 1947, a copywriter named Francis Goretti, exhausted at the end of a late night work session, scrawled 4 words that would become the most successful advertising tagline in history. A diamond is forever. She had no idea. She just needed to finish the brief. But those 4 words did something almost surgical to the human brain. They didn't say diamonds are beautiful or rare or expensive. They said diamonds are permanent, like love. And if your love is forever, then the diamond that represents it, well, you'd never sell that, would you? You'd never put it back on the market. And that was completely intentional. De Beers needed there to be no resale market, because a resale market would have revealed the truth, that these things are worth a fraction of what you paid. The campaign worked beyond anyone's wildest projections. In 1940, 10% of first-time brides in America got a diamond engagement ring. By 1990, 80% did. De Beers's wholesale diamond sales in the U.S. went from $23 million in 1939 to $2.1 billion by 1979. They didn't just sell diamonds, they manufactured a tradition that felt ancient and inevitable, when it was actually younger than color television. And when the American market was saturated, they went global. Japan in 1967, a country with deeply rooted arranged marriage traditions, almost no concept of the Western romantic proposal, and less than 5% of engaged women owning a diamond ring. De Beers went in and marketed diamonds as symbols of modern Western values. Within a generation, Japan was one of the biggest diamond markets in the world. Oh, and the 2-month salary rule? Invented. Completely invented. By N.W. Ayer in the 1930s, it was originally 1 month. They bumped it to 2 months in the 1980s. One ad literally asked, "How can you make 2 months' salary last forever?" They set the benchmark for how much you should spend on love, and then they sold you the thing you were supposed to spend it on. The legal record on all this is not subtle. De Beers was indicted by a U.S. federal grand jury in 1994 for price fixing. Their executives literally couldn't travel to America for a decade without risking arrest. In 2004, they finally pled guilty, paid a $10 million fine, and were allowed back in. The next year, they settled class action price fixing suits for $250 million. In 2012, another antitrust settlement, $295 million. Experts calculated the total overcharge to the worldwide diamond market between 1994 and 2006 at nearly $5 billion. This is not a gray area. This was a cartel. It just happened to also be the most romantically branded cartel in history. Now, here's where it gets almost poetic in its irony. Because the thing that's finally breaking De Beers isn't a government. It's not a competitor mining company. It's a machine. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically, physically, optically identical to natural diamonds. Even gemologists can't tell them apart with the naked eye. And in 2018, a 1-carat lab-grown diamond cost about $4,200. By early 2025, that same diamond cost $168. A 96% price collapse in 7 years. Because once you can make something in a factory, the price finds its floor fast. Lab-grown diamonds now account for over 45% of U.S. engagement ring purchases. De Beers even tried to get ahead of it, launched their own lab-grown brand in 2018, then quietly shut it down in 2024 when they realized it was just cannibalizing their own market. Their parent company, Anglo-American, has written down the value of De Beers by $7.8 billion over 3 years. 3 years. The controlling stake is now worth about $2.3 billion, and Anglo-American is trying to sell it. The empire that manufactured desire for a century is now struggling to manufacture relevance. But here's the thing that genuinely haunts me about this story. A 2024 study found that 78% of consumers know lab-grown and natural diamonds are visually identical. They know, and yet 89% still attribute emotional value to natural diamonds versus only 23% for lab-grown. The marketing outlasted the monopoly. The story De Beers told is so deeply embedded in how we think about love and commitment that even people who intellectually understand the scam still feel it in their chest when they see a natural diamond ring. That's not manipulation anymore. That's culture. And culture is almost impossible to undo. So the next time someone shows you an engagement ring, or you feel that subtle social pressure about what a ring should cost, just remember, you're not experiencing an ancient human tradition. You're experiencing the afterglow of a Depression-era marketing campaign engineered by a cartel that controlled the global supply of a moderately abundant mineral and paid a copywriter to make you feel like love needs a price tag. A diamond is forever, they said. Turns out the lie was the thing that lasted. If you found this eye-opening, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths of our world. Thanks for watching.